lael magab. Ja see on põhjanahk ja sellest saab arvata hästi tume. Ja teiseks, nii külmas keegi teine ka. See on elus.
While people were provided with good glass sand by the Piusa caves, bats used the caves dug by the humans as a hibernation site. In 1948, bats were discovered wintering in the caves. In 1981, the caves were declared a protected area as the largest location for a winter colony of bats in the Baltic region. During the winter, the bats survive thanks to their reserves of summer fat. The body temperature of the bats is low when they hibernate, and their metabolism slows down. Each time they wake, they are forced to burn energy that they can't afford to waste. Since bats hibernate for more than half a year, from October to April, it's very important to have good wintering conditions. The Piusa caves have a stable temperature and favorable moisture content. It is quiet in the dark caves. Nothing disturbs the sleep of the bats. 5 species of bats winter in the Piusa caverns. They gather here from a radius of 100 kilometers. The animals that congregate here are an international bunch, as shown by bandings of bats that took place from 1950 until 1992.
Piusast nahkhiire kaugem taasleed on Lätimaal 101 kilomeetrit. Ja see näitab lihtsalt, et nad tulevad Piusasse talituma suurelt alalt ja Venemaa piir on ju veel lähemal. Nii et kindlasti 3 riigi nahkhiired on talvel siin kokku. Piusa oma 4500 see on kindlasti Põhja-Euroopa suur.
Bats belong to the order of animals with webbed forelimbs. They are the only mammals capable of true and sustained flight. The forelimbs of bats have formed into wings. Bats have been studied in Estonia for more than 60 years. This has provided unique information about the tendency to stay in a given area, about longevity and range of movement. Piusa has set some records in regard to longevity of bats. A Daubenton's bat has lived to be 23 and a half years old, and a member of a very rare species, Brandt's bat, has lived to be 18 and a half. One individual of our most numerous species, the northern bat, has lived to be 15 and a half years old.
See on nii kogukas, et seda võib nimetada nahkrotiks, sest rahvapärimuse järgi suured nahkhiired on nahkrotid. Siin on üldse 5 liiki nahkhiiri talvetumas. Ja see suur on tiigilendlane, tal on ka väga suured tagumised jalad, kui vaadata, kuidas ta kinnitub rakke varbaküüntega. Ta on meil suhteliselt haruldane, aga lääne pool Euroopas on ta veel haruldasem. Kogu Euroopa alal ta on tunnistatud erilise kaitsevajadusega liigiks. Veelendlane on näiteks selle tiigilendlase sugulane, aga ta on kasvult natuke väiksem, nii et tema on nagu rahva nime järgi nahkhiir. Ja tema on siin kõige arvukam. Kuskil siin koopas umbes 80% on veelendlasi, kes on tiigilendlasest väiksemad. Aga kõige arvukam on meil põhjanahkhiir ja ta on ka siin koopas, aga siin koopas ta ei ole nii arvukas, sest siin on liiga soe. Tema talvitab hästi jahedas. 0, -2, isegi kuni -6 kraadi võib-olla. Siin on meil nüüd kõige haruldasem nahkhiir. Selles koopas ta on ka kõige väiksem. Tema nimi on Brandti lendlane. Tal on peaaegu mustad kõrvad terava tipuga ja need on 2 isendit siin. No üldiselt on nii, et emased on sagedamini nagu gruppides või nii koloonias koos ja talitumiskogumis võib olla 10, 20 või isegi rohkem loob täiesti kobadas nagu viinamaa.
All of our bats are under protection. The pond bat has been designated a European protected species. Conditions in the Piusa caves have remained favorable for bats for a long time, and so the winter colonies have increased in size every year. The bat is a creature with a very long history. Humans have been around for 2 million years, but the bat as a life form has lived in our world for 50 million years. Bats are a key species that have given the Piusa caves a certain charm and also their protected status. There is room in the Piusa caves for other winged creatures as well, alongside the bats. The butterfly has 4 developmental stages. First, we have the egg. A small caterpillar struggles out of the egg. Its only purpose is to eat. When it's eaten enough, it goes to sleep. Before it goes to sleep, it turns into a pupa, housed in an almost immovable structure. The butterfly emerges from the chrysalis 2 weeks later. When the time arrives for wintering, 6 months have elapsed. There are not many insects who survive the winter as mature adults, but we do find some in the Pusa caves. The most typical way for insects to winter is as eggs. That gives them the best prospects for survival. During the wintering period, the metabolism of the insect switches into an energy conservation mode. In order to conserve energy, the insect can even switch off its heart.
Eestis on koopaid hästi vähe looduslikke koopaid ja kuigi see esinenud inimtekkeline koobas, siis aja jooksul on ta selliseks looduslähedaseks muutunud ja talitleb sellise, võime öelda elupäeva. Püsivad koopad siin ei saa tekkida, kuna siin ei ole mingit loodusjõudu, mis toitusi juurde kannaks. Kõikides koobastes, kus oma elu on tekkinud, on alati mingisugune läbiv jõgi või selline veevool ja kus siis tuleb vajalik energia sellesse koopaökosüsteemi sisse, aga juusakoopad on kuiv. See on kelmriõelane. Siin on hästi ilus. Kondenseerunud veelgi piis kui täis. Koopad on hästi niisked ja sellised karvased putukad. Need on siis hästi head kontsentratsiooni tuumade allikad. Ja tihtipeale selline väga niiskeks saamine võib üle kohvikuks minna, sest sellised veepiisad on väga heaks kasvulavaks seentele. Siin on meil üks tüüpiline talvituvalipikas päeva paavusilmaga. Tema talvitamine on läinud sellise tüüpilise koopaelu ohu nahka, ehk ta on siin terve naaril paistab. Seeni on talle selga kasvanud ja ise on ta selline kastepiisku ehk siis niiskuse kondensvett täis. Ja seal ta siis ripub. Aga siin on meil klassikaline koopa tipikus jällegi paapkumaksik, kus on ka selline juusakoobaste, selline lõppeliiki saa palju öelda, sest elu ju siin talvekoopast tegelikult ei käinud, on ju üleelamas ja siin on ökosüsteem kui selline natuke selline teistlaadne, aga koos kelmriõeldusega on siis paapkumaksik selline tüüpiline talvitud libikas joonikuga. Siin on hästi vahva pilt, kuidas kiir on koos tema tüüpilise saagiga, sääskedega. Väga paljud sääseliigid, nagu hallasääsed, laulusääsed, linnusääsed, nende emasloomad talituvad samuti koobastes.
The butterflies in the area of the Pusa caves are active in the spring. The valley of the Pusa River is a migration route for species from the steppes. From here, they migrate onwards towards the west along the sandy hillocks of southwestern Estonia. This is one of the most species-rich areas in Estonia. Here we find species in the forest as well as the steppes. In 1984, the clouded Apollo butterfly, a European protected species, was discovered near the Pusa railway station. The area colonized by the clouded Apollo increases in size from year to year. This otherwise unassuming butterfly has one very interesting feature. After mating, the male individual blocks the reproductive organs of the female with a chastity belt, which keeps other males from taking an interest in the female. An amphibian that is rare and endangered in many of the Baltic Sea states, the great crested newt, lives in the ponds of the Pusa sand quarry. The great crested newt is an animal with a secluded way of life. They shield themselves from the eyes of humans.
Harivesilik on sellepärast arvuseks jäänud, et nii nagu kõik kahepaiksed vajab ta eluks maismaaelupaika ja veeelupaika. Ja maismaaelupaik Eestis on üldiselt selle liigi jaoks päris hea, see on enamasti niisugune mosaiik metsast ja avatud aladest, aga probleemiks on hea kvaliteediga veeelupaigad. No, Pusa-lombid on tehtud spetsiaalselt harivesiliku elupaiga nõudeid silmas pidades. Sügisel, kui nad tehtud said, järgmisel kevadel olid harivesilikud juba sees ja ja munesid seal. Kevadel pärast talvitumist umbes aprillikuuses tulevad harivesilkud välja, enamasti nad on aktiivsed öösel, nii et päeval neid näha ei ole. Ja siis esimene asi kohe lähevad nad sobivatesse veekogudesse, et kudeda. Ja enne kudemist toimub siis niisugune pulmatants, isane, kellele selleks ajaks areneb seljale väga uhke hari, demonstreerib siis ennast ema sees ja kuni siis paaritumiseni välja. Siis emasloom kinnitab veetaimerehtedele ükshaaval munad, neid võib olla 300–500 ja siis enamasti tullakse veekogust välja. Siin Piusal on niivõrd läbipaistva veega veekogud, et siin harivesilikud üldiselt ei jää kauaks vette ja siis toituvad kuival maal. Kuni siis selleni, kui on ilmad jälle jahedad ja on vaja siis minna talvituma, et niisugune aastaring.
Estimates indicate that there are hundreds of great crested newts in the pools of Piusa, and yet they aren't apparent to the naked eye. The great crested newt is a very important link in the food cycle. To avoid ending up as the prey of other animals, they are very good at hiding themselves. The smooth newt is notably bolder than the rare great crested newt. Much more vain during the mating season are the pool frogs, who try to make themselves as visible and audible as possible. Common frogs, moor frogs, and ordinary toads also spawn in the ponds created for crested newts. With the mating calls of the frogs still in our ears, it is worth taking a walk on the Piusa Nature Trail, which is 1.5 kilometers in length. The Nature Trail begins by the Museum of the Caves and wends its way through a sunlit pine forest. According to legend, the Estonians engaged in battles here with German knights. During the Second World War, trenches and bunkers were dug into the sandy surface of the Piusa area. The events of history have left discernible traces in the contoured landscape. The one single thing that has affected the surface of Piusa the most are the passages of the sand mines.
Because they built a hydroelectric station on the Piusa River, and then in 52 came the national electricity as well. So then they started using drills and saws and everything as well to ease the mining process. But the axe was the main tool until the end, because miners they really didn't have a plan where to go and where to mine, so they oriented by sound. So when you hit the axe against the sandstone, they could hear by echo which are the weaker spots and where not to mine. And that was usually the job of the head miner, and you got to the job of head miner when you had been working here for at least 5 years. So yeah, in here there are our 7 bat species. So these are moulages, those are not real, but they are basically about 97% accurate. Yeah. And I know one glass artist actually replicated those pigs, but they're a little bit different. So he went to learn from one of the old glass blowers and tried to replicate it. A bit different, but yeah,
Quite beautiful pieces.
quite cool.
Absolutely.
Really nice.
Stunning. Some of these pieces are unreal. Absolutely
Was some glass commissioned then by like bigger corporations or?
Yeah, well, actually, there was a legend. It's not proven, but basically there was a legend that before the Loru factory went to basically the Russians took over and sent Loru to Siberia, then actually I don't remember who was the head. Basically, because they thought that we should like cherish women more, and this is too dangerous and too hard work, so we should cherish women more. So women were forbidden to work underground and were sent to the railway station to clean the sand. But the catch was that at the railway station they got paid half the fee that they got here. So we should cherish women more and pay them less. Nothing has changed in 80 years. Feminist stories.
Same all over the world, I
Yeah,
think.
so nothing has changed. And the reason why the women are wearing those white scarves is because when there's a collapse, you can find them in the sand.
Ah,
Oh wow.
So yeah, useful.
okay.
Basically.
Wow.
So this is the map of this cave we're in right now, and we're standing here. And this is a small cave.
Wow.
So this is 0.4 hectares, and the big cave is 4.2.
Wow.
I have been there once with the bat scientist, and then I got lost, and I don't want to go again. It's cold and dark and creepy, and yeah, it was not a great experience. So yeah, every year they come back and like call me that, do you want to come with us? I'm like, no, I don't. So, yeah. And this is the electric motor that was bought in 1948, and then this started dragging the big metal wagonettes. So in the beginning, in the early 30s, the wagonettes were smaller because men were pushing them out themselves, and then later on they bought the electric motor and bigger wagonettes and everything. And yeah, later on they started using those big drills and so on as well, but as you can see, the axe was still the main tool until the end. And during the 44 years that they mined underground, there was only one death. It was in this cave in 1944. And it was a young guy, second day at work, took an axe, went to work, hit it at the exact wrong place, and the whole thing collapsed.
Wow.
So it was like a miscommunication because one of the head miners was late for work, and then the 47 and 48 came electricity. So this is the last one that is done all by hand. And if you look closely, then like there's a bat.
Oh.
Pink up there.
Okay.
There should be quite a few here, so we always like to play a game with the guides, like who finds more bats.
Yeah,
So, I can see there one exactly, but those that feed on blood, those are so big that they're called like flying dogs or flying foxes.
Wow.
But actually, those three species that feed on blood, they don't actually like attack animals or people. Which is like I don't know, just a myth, just to like I don't know, explain the vampires or something.
Yeah, I got it.
It's a so small cave, and we have the building around it, and the big collapse spot as well. So the back end of the cave still goes below zero, but the other caves are constantly +4. So that's the ideal conditions for the bats and everything. And because it's so moist in here as well, then they get all the water needs from the air. So basically, the moistness will fall on the skin, and then it will absorb basically, so they don't have to drink or anything. So yeah.
Do you know if they are accidentally woken up?
Yeah. Well, they do wake up like a couple times during the winter time, because when one area of the cave like gets too cold, then they will go and try and find another spot. But every time they wake up, they will use energy, and because they feed on insects, there's no insects here, so they can't eat anything basically. So they will wake up like slightly and then go back to sleep basically. But
if they were to fully wake up, then there's a high chance that they would.
Yeah, because they don't. Yeah, because they don't have anything to eat or anything. So yeah, they will come into the caves. I think usually like in mid-October. So depending on when the winter comes, and then they will wake up in the end of March or beginning of April. So basically 6 months. And usually, I think it's not like a rule, but usually when you can see like a bundle of bats, like there's like 30. The biggest one I have seen was 55 bats were sleeping together. It was like a beehive. Those are usually females. So because they keep their bodies more easily warm, And the reason behind that is basically bats are weird. So their mating season is like in September, but they will get pregnant in spring. So during the winter time, they're like sperm banks. Basically, they will hold it in, go to sleep for half a year, and then they get pregnant like in March, April, and have their babies in June.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, they're weird.
Wow.
They're quite cool and they're quite weird, basically. oota, aga mul on eelmise aasta sees nii, jah. Ma võtan selle lahti. Ma teil on hästi palju asju, olemas. Ja minu arust tegin eelmise
Here's one of the old railway carts that they use for moving the sand. Beautiful. And snakes or newts?
No, yeah,
Newts.
No, these are lizards.
Lizards.
Yeah, these are lizards. We have lizards as well. We have a lot of things.
And spiders.
Spiders and bats and lizards
Yeah.
and butterflies and
Yeah.
mosquitoes and moths and
All of the Hi, morning. We're on our way to a place called Piausa Caves, which is just to the east of Voru. I think the caves used to be mined for the sand because they made really good glass, but now I think they just have bats in them, I think. Anyway, that's where we're heading for now. We just made a stop here. We're on our way to have a look at some ruins. It's like a lookout tower. Apparently we should be able to see Russia again in the distance. But we're going to go up and have a look up this tower anyway. Okay, we're now up on the top of this lookout, and oh god, I can tell you it's bitter up here. But over in the distance that way is Russia. So Russia's pretty much just on the horizon. Sign's actually telling me there's a border crossing point just over that way, and then just slightly that way would be St. Petersburg, which is about 296 kilometres as the crow flies in that direction. But beautiful views all the way around. I can't do this much longer, my fingers are absolutely frozen, but really beautiful, really pretty. It's a shame it's not sunny. Very nice. We're now arrived at a place called Vastelina Episcopal Castle. so we're going to take a little bit of a look round here if it's open. Not really sure what this guy's all about. It does hold a light that lights up. But, quite a cool carving. On the Feast of Anunication, March 25th, 1342, began the construction of Vatsalina Castle as a border fortress on the lands of the Bishop of Tartu. The castle was consecrated to Virgin Mary and was called Frauenberg in her honour. It was only later that the castle became known as Novum Castrum or Naushausen, Neuvoi Gorduk in Russian, and Vatsalina, New Fortress in Estonian. There's the castle, looks down on the river below, which is pretty much frozen over, as you can see. I think quite a lot of it has fallen into ruin, but let's take a look. In the ruins of Vastalina Episcopal Castle, the most powerful and beautiful fortress of the old Livonia, there is a medieval holy place blessed by the Pope. Since 1353, after the wonder of the White Cross that happened in the Holy Cross Chapel, Varna Vestalina has been a loved destination for pilgrims. The times have not been kind to the fortress or the Holy Chapel, and today there is very little left of its former glory and reputation. It looks like the occasional service is held here. I don't know if you can hear it, but there is some music playing in the background. In 1558, a military campaign was led by Ivan the Terrible, where about 40,000 men crossed over into Vastalina. So this was sacked by Ivan the Terrible. I think Christine wanted to know who he was employed by, but I had to explain that's not what it meant. Go. The keeper of the castle keys. During the construction of the northeast tower, the Fortress Council discussed how to give the stronghold more protection. It was jointly decided that they should find a virgin to be a keeper of the castle keys. An announcement was sent out in the surrounding area that an angelic-looking girl is sought to be the keeper of the castle keys. In the hope of escaping the hard labour of everyday work, girls came to the castle from far and wide, from whom the most beautiful ones were selected. The chosen girl was asked to fall to her knees by the wall with a bunch of keys in her hand, and thus immured in the brick wall of the northeast tower. This place is marked by a cross laid in the wall. We'll have a look and see if we can find that cross in the wall. We've no idea where it is. We're inside that northeast tower now, so having a little bit of a look around and see if we can see this cross. It'd be difficult for us to have a look round the outside of it for obvious reasons. It's all snowed in, but hopefully, or we may find it on the inside, who knows. Well, we've climbed our way up, so there are some fabulous views over the landscape. We've not managed to locate the cross.
Peter I visited the Vastellina castle, but unfortunately the times were hard for Livonia, and the great ruler of the neighbouring country was not satisfied with the hospitality. When the Russian army besieged the castle in 1702, Peter I was still so displeased that he commanded the fort to be destroyed. Despite the fact that they were ready to surrender, when the enemy troops were already surrounding the fortress, 10 virgins of the castle decided to lock themselves in the chapel so that their innocent purity, along with the power of the Holy Cross, would protect the castle. And there they stayed forever. It is said that in a full moon summer night, it's a pure and innocent girl walking along the grass-grown walls of the chapel hears the virgins sing. It is a good sign for her. If, however, the song is heard by a woman's ears who cannot call herself a virgin any more, it means bad sickness or even death for her. Women who've been afflicted can only be saved by sincere and heartfelt repentance, after which the castle bees drip honey onto the wall of the Virgin Tower, which when collected and rubbed onto the afflicted spot will soon cure the deathly sickness.
Okay, we think we've found the cross. It's on the outside of the wall and it's there. So we're assuming that she was buried behind that, we think. We think. We're not sure. It's a bit hard to tell from what it tells us of the story. So she would have knelt probably up there on about the 3rd floor, and then she's buried in that wall. Well, we think that's where she was placed. Very thick walls. The most well-known legend of Vastellina describes the year 1380 when the castle was besieged by the Moscow Grand Duke Dmitri with 300,000 men. The situation of the castle was already quite hopeless when the chief, after praying, shot an arrow from the southeast tower, and the arrow struck directly into the heart of the great duke. After the fall of the head, a great confusion arose among the enemy troops and they fled back to Russia. The bow from which the arrow was shot was hung on the chapel wall and stayed there for years as a reminder of miracles are indeed possible. We're in Voru town centre. Voru's the town where Christine's grandson lives. And I think this is the main square, which looks really nice for Christmas. Really nice. There's some strange things. I don't know what else to call them. I mean, apart from the circles on there, the street lights are quite cool. Never seen street lights like that before. Very strange, very different. But, not really sure what. Oh, they're benches.
Oh, yeah.
They're benches on wheels. I presume they must turn or move or something. Very strange benches. So this is under a canopy that's on wheels with what appears to be a bench that's fixed to the floor, and very strange, different. Maybe in the summer they can move them around or whatever, but this is the Christmas tree. It's quite nice and pretty with presents around it. Really cool. It was really nice. Very nice. Hang on a minute. With these giant 6-foot Christmas presents. Terrific. Just off the town square is this avenue of decorated trees. Really nice. Really nice. Yeah, it's a nice looking little town. Bigger than what we thought it was. We've just walked down the avenue of trees that are lit up to find what looks like a gingerbread house, complete with, I would say, I think it's what you would call a gingerbread house. How smart's that? Oh, and there's a tiny little gnome type Santa on it. How cool is that? That was brilliant for the kids, that. Really, really good. Let's have a look round the back. Yeah. Very good. Really good. Yeah. Wow. Fantastic.